This is the NSP song, the Network of Spiritual Progressive song that Michael Lerner wrote. And Mike and I recorded this a few years ago.
Okay, so 1 second, Sharon. Yeah, Sharon, hang on. Let me just, because the recording's just started. So, oh, my cat keeps knocking the screen. So welcome everyone to the Network of Spiritual Progressives launch call for our national working groups. I'm so happy to see so many faces on the call tonight. It's so heartwarming and wonderful. So we're so glad you're here. After Sharon sings, I'll kind of explain to you the outline of the call, but we want to just start with the song. I invite you to sing along in your square, in your home. And now I'm going to share the song so you can all hear it. Okay, there we go. You can see it, right, Sharon?
No, it says that you've started screen sharing. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Here we go. NSP, join with me as we transform the world's reality. Love and kindness, radical amazement, peace and generosity. Love and kindness, radical amazement, peace and generosity. Save the earth from environmental crisis. Stop the wars, torture, and poverty. Let our voices ring out that we have no doubt love and kindness will triumph. You network of spiritual progressives. We affirm science and spirit both. Domination turned to love, gentleness placed above the world of power and might. It's time to end poverty and hunger around the world and in the US too. We have enough to share with humility and care. We are one with all humanity, it's true. NSP, 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 join with me as we transform the world's reality. Love and kindness, radical amazement, peace and generosity. NSP, love and kindness, radical amazement, peace and generosity. Don't let them tell you to be realistic. In a world full of wars and poverty, only fundamental change can transform a world deranged into one that works for all humanity. The selfishness and greed that surround us lead many to despair that things can change. Yet we know that people yearn for a world that can turn to love, peace, and generosity. NSP, 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 join with me as we transform the world's reality. Love and kindness, radical amazement, peace and generosity. NSP, love and kindness, radical amazement, peace and generosity. NSP. We have to decide who's going to do the harmony next time.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That was so great. Thanks, Sharon. So I'm going to go right into the next thing before I give you the outline of the call, because we were just singing about awe and wonder and radical amazement. And so Rabbi Lerner is going to lead us in an experience of awe, wonder, and radical amazement of the universe. And I want to just say one or two words about that. So one of the things about our movement is that we integrate awe and wonder of the universe, spiritual values and principles and experiences and practices into all of our calls and into our work. And it's a core foundation of what we do. We believe that in order to change the world, actually, it's really critical that we be grounded in spiritual traditions and values and teachings and practices. And one of those is to really embrace and celebrate the awe and wonder and radical amazement of this universe, because when we do, if we truly do, then we will do what we need to do to save the life support system of this planet. So I'm going to turn it over to Rabbi Lerner to lead us in a very powerful experience of that. And some of you will have already experienced this, knowing who's on the call.
Hello, everyone. So what I'd like to ask you to do is to try to visualize what I am saying. And so it would be of great help if you would just close your eyes so that you're not attracted to looking at me or looking at all the other wonderful, beautiful people on this call, but instead just imagining what I'm asking you to imagine, okay? Oh, and another point I want to make is just to clarify, awe and wonder and radical amazement does not mean becoming, joining some religion, or we're not selling any particular religion. We're not selling religion as a whole. We are talking about a spiritual consciousness that is reflected in the new bottom line. But it's not, this is not trying to push any particular approach to religion or spirituality. And so we're saying people who are orthodox atheists. That is, an orthodox atheist is somebody who's really got strong commitment. You're welcome. Everybody's welcome. And there's nothing inconsistent with being an atheist and or even an orthodox atheist and still going with this experience. So please close your eyes, okay? So, and what I want to ask you to do is to envision where you are in the universe, where you are, first of all, on the planet. So in order to do this, I want to ask you to imagine that you're, okay, wherever you are, whatever city you're in, or whatever country, town you're in, wherever it is, imagine that there was a slowly ascending balloon, a big balloon that carries people, or if that seems too scary, it sometimes does seem too scary to me, then a slowly ascending huge elevator that goes up into the sky. And so as it goes up a little bit, you can look down and see the town or the place where you have been the last few hours. And if you look around, you can see people doing their various things. Some people on the East Coast are already having dinner, or other people in the West Coast just getting off of work or just getting out of the routine that they've done in being not in work this day. But imagine that you could look and see them down, and probably if they looked up, they could wave at you, because it's not too far up yet, this elevator or this slowly ascending balloon. And so I want you to imagine now that it can go up further, and that you can begin to see not just the town or city or whatever place you have been, but also the whole state that you're in. And if you look, if you're there, you'll see, when you look down, you'll see people doing all kinds of things. Some will be on the highway, some will be watching television, some will be eating dinner, or some will be making dinner. And there are really hundreds of thousands, perhaps you can even see millions of people in your state who are engaged in that at this time. So can you get that? Well, so now we're going to go up a little bit further, and you can look down and see it's gone up far enough that you can see the whole United States, the North American continent. And if you look down, you'll see, now you can see that there are parts that are starting to get a little bit darker and parts that are still in the flesh of the sun. And, but there are now actually hundreds of millions of people down there. And they're doing their thing. Some people are, as I say, some people maybe still at work. Some people are are in their homes having dinner or just having finished dinner or preparing dinner or watching television or listening to the radio, hearing the news. And there you are, and you are seeing all of this reality. Okay, so and you're looking down now at the United States, and you know that there are. This is a country that has 4% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's epidemic now, COVID-19. So something is wrong here. Something is deeply wrong. But you're not going up to look at how wrong things are, but just to see that what's going on. But what you see also going on is something that's going on all over the world, namely that there are many people who are hungry. There are many people who are hungry. And if you go up a little bit further, let your balloon or your elevator go up a little further, and you can see the whole planet Earth. And on the planet Earth, there are close to 8 billion people now. And as it's rotating around, you can get a grasp that many of the people on the Earth, there's millions and millions, actually, hundreds of millions of people who are hungry, and many, many others who are struggling to try to change the system that they're living in. But then there are also a lot of other people who are employed as police or as armies or as justifiers of the existing inequalities of the world. They may be people who are well-respected columnists in your newspaper, or talking heads on television, or even college professors or high school teachers, and many other professions. And their main underlying thing is that they want to convince you that basically everything is okay and that it all is all fine. But they are struggling against a lot of other people who want to change it in some fundamental way. But the majority of people on the planet are unconvinced that things can change. And so when they hear something like this, they want to turn the channel. They're not listening at the moment. They're not listening. Although in the light of the recent demonstrations for Black Lives Matter, a growing number of people are listening, but still a minority of people who are listening. So when you look at this incredible world, and it's got so much beauty in it, so much wonder in it, and yet there's this struggle going on. But now your elevator or your balloon is going up further, and now I want you to see the Earth as a whole, and see that the Earth is it is getting light and warmth from the sun, and the sun is some 977,000 times the mass of the planet Earth. So just try to take that in. Okay, here you are. You're on this planet Earth, and the sun that we all take for granted each day is 977,000 times the size. You can if you want to think of it as a million. It's close enough to a million times larger. So you look down and you see, wow, here we are in this incredible universe with the sun that is giving us all kinds of beauty and all kinds of warmth and wonder. Now it turns out that that our sun is one of many, many, many suns in the in our particular galaxy. galaxy, yes. And that the scientists tell us that there are now close to 100 billion galaxies. So now can you see where you are? We're in this. Well, it's hard to get this picture. In fact, it's impossible. Nobody has yet been able to take in the amazing reality of where we are. Maybe we could take it in when we were going up and looking at the Earth. Harder still to take in the possibility that we're seeing ourselves in relationship to this sun that is close to 1 million times the mass of the planet Earth. But when you look out at this universe as a whole and get the picture, you can't take it in. There's no way that any human being has been able to envision this totality with the 100 billion galaxies. So it's amazing. It's a fantastic reality that we're in, and we know that every one of us this is our moment to look out at the universe with all of its wonder, all of its magnificence, and say, fantastic, amazing, wonderful. Because the truth is that most of us within the next 100 years, maybe even shorter than 100 years, will be in the ground. And other people will come after us, and they will also look out at the same universe, and they will also be amazed, and they will also have trouble even capturing even what it is. So imagine, though, that here's the truth. This is our moment. This is our moment to be alive, to be able to see what we can see with all the limitations of our consciousness, with all the limitations of what we can take in. Nevertheless, it's amazing to be alive, to be able to see the beauty of this earth and then the magnificence of this universe that ultimately goes so far beyond our conceptions and our language. And so at this moment, it's appropriate to feel like, wow, it's amazing, fantastic. So I want to ask you if you would join with me in a short little prayer, very short little prayer. And it has 3 words to this prayer. Wow, fantastic, amazing. Wow, fantastic, amazing. So keeping your eyes still closed, just allow yourself to say that with me about this incredible universe and our good luck to still have consciousness, to be able to say it, to see it, to take in what we can take in with all our limitations. So together, let's try it. Wow, fantastic, amazing. Okay, so now you know the prayer. Now this time I want to ask you to actually mean it. Okay, now I don't mean it meaning that you have to yell it or say it louder. I mean that you have to allow yourself to just for this moment sink into the amazing reality of this universe. So we're going to do it together. Wow.
Wow.
Fantastic. Amazing.
Amazing.
Yes, and so it is. So it is. It is so fantastic and amazing to be alive and to be with other people who can equally get beyond all our ego boundaries that would say, oh, this is silly, I don't want to do, but to allow yourself to actually have this experience. When people ask me, well, how do I have a spiritual experience? I say to them this: try this once every night for 10 minutes. Go through this guided visualization. Go outside if the weather is conducive to doing that. Look up at the stars if you can do it in the evening, or at the sun if you're doing it during the day, and say, wow, fantastic, amazing. And if you do that every night for the next 3 months, some point in that time, you're going to have a spiritual experience that will be something that you were unaware that you could have. So, but in the meantime, bless all of you for being open to trying this.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to give a bit of an outline of our call so that we all know what's happening in the next, it'll be another hour and a half-ish, a little bit less. After I do this and give a little introduction, then Rabbi Lerner is going to speak again for a few minutes to just outline and explain our theory of change so that you can, when we talk then about the national working groups and what we're doing, you'll have a context in which to place them so that you will understand why we have chosen this particular path and this particular strategy at this time. So he'll speak about that in a minute. And then I will explain kind of a mission and vision of the national working groups, an overarching mission and vision, and our plan for the NSP. And then each working group, there's 4 different groups, will give a brief presentation, about 7 minutes each, about their particular group so you can understand what that group is doing. And then this is why you're all co-hosts. Then after that, what we're going to be doing is we're going to have breakout rooms for each group, and you'll be able to move around amongst the groups, and we'll explain that to you when we get there. And you'll be able to talk to the different leaders of the different groups so you can get more sense of what those groups are about. Because our hope is that you're going to choose to join a group and join with us to participate to building a loving and just movement, one that's truly grounded in values of love and justice, and also grounded in values of prophetic empathy and care and compassion, and all of the values that we hold near and dear to our hearts that are key to building the world that we want. So I'm going to turn it back over now to you to explain kind of the overarching theory of change so that you can conceptualize that and place that into the context of the bigger discussion that we're going to be having going forward on this call.
Right. So this is not a strategy just for this year. This is a long-term strategy.
Oh, yes. I always like to say this is not a race. This is a marathon, a very long marathon, as it turns out.
Right. But there is a certain emergency, not the ones that our president sees, but a real emergency, and that is that our goal is to save from destruction the life support system of planet Earth. Okay, so our goal is to save from destruction the life support system of planet Earth. To do that, we need build what we call a caring society, caring for each other and caring for the planet. To get there, we need a new bottom line. The old bottom line is one that says that you measure any social practice, every corporation, every government policy, our healthcare system, our education system, our societal cultural systems as efficient, rational, and productive to the extent that they maximize money and power. And we're saying no, we need a new bottom line that maximize that judges efficiency and productivity by how much our behaviors in these various spheres maximize people's capacity to be loving and caring, kind and generous, ethically and ecologically sensitive, enhancing our capacity to respond to other human beings as embodiments of the sacred, rather than simply looking at other human beings from a standpoint of what we can get from them, how they will fit into our needs, and also looking at the planet, looking at Earth, not simply from the standpoint of, gee, I wonder if there's something here I can turn into a commodity and sell, but rather looking at it with the awe and wonder and radical amazement that we were just trying to experience momentarily in that nightly or daily meditation. Okay, so we need a new bottom line. How are we going to get there? To do that, we have to face the fact that right now corporations have immense power, and that they've created a society, shaped a society in which the bottom line is money and power, and hence a society that is that focuses on and rewards selfishness, materialism, looking out for number one. How are we going to change that? Well, um, we we have put forward a program called the Environmental and Social Responsibility Amendment to the Constitution that would take over the corporations um, and essentially would require that every corporation with incomes above $50 million a year get a new corporate charter once every 5 years, that they could only get if they could prove a satisfactory history of environmental and social responsibility to a jury of ordinary citizens who would be getting advice and support from the environmental world and would have environmentalists advising them as they hear the stories from as the corporations try to defend their record. And but the group of people who are in the hearing this testimony would be people who were also receiving testimony from people all around the world who can testify to what the actual impact of this corporation is. That, of course, would make it possible for people inside the corporations who wanted the corporations to be more ethically and environmentally sensitive to have a great potential impact, because whereas right now they're told, look, we have to maximize money and power because that's the obligation of the corporation, and the people who own us, who own the stock in us, that's what they put their money in there for, because that's what they wanted. So but now by the ESRA, the ESRA will give us a handle on helping people inside corporations, because actually many of the people inside corporations are not bad people at all. They're not looking only out for themselves. They care for other people, but they now with the ESRA, they will have some support. But how are we going to get that? How are we going to get the ESRA passed? Well, so in the studies that I've done of the psychodynamics of American society, what I've learned is that many people want a different world, only they believe it's impossible. They believe that everybody else is selfish and materialistic, and what's more, they feel that the liberal and left world looks down upon them, has contempt for them, has contempt for their lifestyle, has contempt for their religion. It's still the case that 50 to 60% of Americans claim that they go to church once a month at least. Now, that's not true, okay? They don't really go that. But that they want to be seen that way is a central part of the reality of the society we're in. So if we want to change the society, and why do we want to change the society? Because it's the most powerful society in the world still, and particularly with its control of the media and not to mention its military dominance, it shapes the consciousness of much of the rest of the world. So we need to change that. And in order to change that, we need to change the left. The liberal and progressive world has to change how it relates to other people. It has to embody the new bottom line in its own practice. It has to be a manifestation of love and justice. And that's a big step for it, because the truth of the matter is that most people, if you just spoke to people after the 2016 election and you asked them, well, how come we lost this election? Their answer would be, oh, that's easy. That's because the American people are racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, anti-Semitic, or just plain stupid. Now, this answer has been heard by people. And it's not just that we've said that amongst the 50 or 60 million people who are in the liberal and progressive world. The rest of the world, the rest of America hears this, and they feel put down. They feel that we look down upon them. And when Hillary Clinton then summed up her part of the people who are not supporting her by saying they are a bundle of deplorables, okay? So many people still have that in their mind, and you can be sure that that's going to be played over and over again in this election, in the coming election. We have to create a liberal and progressive world that is much more reflective of caring and a spirit of generosity. And so how do you do that? Well, then now we're not talking about, often when you have these conversations, we say we need to change the world. We have to go, people come up and say, well, I have this uncle and he'll never change, or my neighbor, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we're not asking us to go to deal with the reactionaries. Okay, we're asking us to deal with the good people, because the good people are right now screwing things up by virtue of looking down at other people. So, so part of our work is to help reach the liberal and progressive world, and to change the ethos, to change the elitism, to change the looking down on other people. One place to start that, not the only place, but one of the hooks that we have for that is the prophetic empathy that Kat Sabbas has been teaching, and that you'll hear more about, I think, in this. But another place is to address the question of meritocracy, because one of the things that holds people together in this, and accepting this reality, is the leading justification the capitalist order has for itself. And that is that the reason why there's so much inequality is because the people who are at the top deserve to be there, and everybody else who isn't deserves to be where they are. And this is called a meritocracy. We're in a society ruled by merit. So one of the things that we have to do is to continually challenge that, to help people understand that their lives, which often feel not so great, are in fact not a reflection of their merit, but rather a reflection of a class structure that has kept people down. Now, the next thing to understand is, well, why aren't they, will that be so easy for them to hear? No, not so easily, because many of people are in such deep depression about feeling bad about themselves for having failed in their life. Many of them don't even acknowledge it to themselves, but yet what we discovered in the research that I did is that almost everybody has a self-blaming story. Many of them repress that story, but it eats away at them inside. Others don't repress it. They tell their wife or their husband or something about their self-blaming. But again, within the context of believing that it's their own fault, that they screwed up, and that's why their life isn't as good as it could be. They don't get, first of all, that the reason why it's so hard to maintain relationships, both intimate relationships and even friendships, is because they're living in a society which glorifies selfishness and materialism and looking out for number one. In that society, of course, it's going to be hard to sustain caring relationships. So we're now at a moment where huge numbers of the middle-aged men are committing suicide all over the place, the highest level ever. Okay, why? Because they're in so much pain. What they then turn to right-wing churches. Why? Because the right-wing churches tell them, don't blame yourself. You shouldn't be blaming yourself. You're okay. And that gives people tremendous relief that that is addressed by people who have some authority. But then those same churches say, and the reason why you're in pain is not because of you, it's because of, and then they name the demeaned others of the society: Blacks, African Americans, Native Americans, immigrants, feminists, gays and lesbians, whoever is the demeaned in the society. Okay, so I'm getting the hook here, but but what I want to say to you is that our task in part is to help people stop blaming themselves and understand the class structure that faces them. And that's critical to overcome the self-blaming. And so we have a message that is actually uplifting for people. It helps people understand that the pain in their life is not their own fault. But this requires challenging not just the right wing, but also the pop culture, pop psychological culture, and pop spiritual culture that has the message of you create your own reality. Well, the truth of the matter is is that to some extent that's true. I'm a psychologist. I work with people, helping them get a grip on the part of the reality that we do create. But it's also true that most of the reality you didn't create. It's not your fault. And that's why it's so terribly destructive when we turn to other people and say, you're living a life of privilege. You're a white person, you've got all this privilege, etc., and make people feel bad. Making people feel bad is not a strategy for changing the world. People don't want to be made to feel bad. And the truth of the matter is that the privilege is very, very limited. And actually, what it does is it separates people from each other and makes it extremely difficult to then unite to get the simplest thing like universal health care. Okay, we can't even get that, and you see that the Democratic Party's likely candidate has just his group is reinforcing like, no, we're not going to go for universal health care. We're not going to do that. Minor adjustments in the healthcare system. So to get fundamental change, we need a deep change in consciousness, and that's what this organization and this network of spiritual progressives, this movement for a world of love and justice is about. It's about a change of consciousness. Now, changes of consciousness are not easy. They take a lot of energy and time. The change of consciousness that happened for women took place over the course of several decades, but that starts in small little groups. And so if you look at, if somebody tells you it's unrealistic, just point at every significant change that's happened in this world in the past 50 years, because almost every one of them was started by small groups of people, really small groups of people, who were told, you're fantasizing. You think you can end patriarchy. You think you can overcome racism. You can overcome all the crazy things that are happening in the world. That you think you're going to get the ability of gays and lesbians to marry. Forget it. It's impossible. Narrow down to realistic. But the truth of the matter is, you never will know what's realistic until you fight for what is desirable. And so our message is, don't be realistic. Don't be realistic. Go for your highest vision of the good. And that's what the Network of Spiritual Progressives and my book, Revolutionary Love, if you want to get more in this, please go get copy, read the copy. But this is what we're trying to help empower people to do. Because when you go for your highest vision, it empowers other people who also thought, no, it's impossible, to feel like they can go for their highest vision. So thank you for listening.
Okay. He manages to pack a lot into a short amount of time. It's amazing to me every time. It's wonderful. So, so these working groups, what we've created, I'm going to close the chat so I don't try to read it while I'm talking to you all, because otherwise I'll just keep looking down and get distracted. So the idea of the national working groups is to actually create different ways, different strategies for you all to get involved, to be a spiritual activist, a change maker, grounded in spiritual values and principles, so that we can, in fact, both change consciousness through talking and reading, and also through action. So each one of the groups, and there's 4 different groups, and you'll hear from the different group leaders in a few minutes, but each of the groups combine a combination of deepening learning and knowledge and understanding of these concepts and ideas, practical skills for learning how to bring them into the world, exercises, strategizing, and then action for actually bringing it into your community. So each national group is going to function as a model for what a local group will be, and it'll be placed for all of you to come back together and brainstorm and bring your challenges and your successes. And so it will be a way for you to have what we've heard so many times referred to as a beloved community in a particular area, and then to work together collectively to determine how it's going. Where are we missing the mark? Where are we succeeding? And to brainstorm and share with each other all your experiences. And then the leaders of these groups are part of a national leadership team with me. And then so we will get together each month and get feedback from all of you so we can discern how we're doing, what changes we need to make, how we can best serve you. And the goal is for you to be able to not only get involved, but also to take on leadership, to stretch your muscles, stretch your skills, stretch your comfort zone, but in a really safe, enjoyable way where you are held and supported in a deep community of people who hold each other, not with judgment, but with love and compassion, with the hope that we can all be the greatest spiritual, inspiring leaders that we can be. So I'm just gonna, and then we are also going to host at some point, I'm not gonna put a date out there yet, but our intention is to host then both, we're gonna be hosting calls, like big calls like this for everybody to join every few months. And then we also hope to host a big national conference. We might do it online depending on how things are going, or we might do regional ones. We'll see how things unfold in this strange time, this strange time. So we'll keep us all apprised of that, and all of you will be able to help inform us about what is you're wanting, what you'd like to see at these conferences, what you'd like to hear on our monthly calls, what are the questions you're having, so that we're working collaboratively in a really powerful way. So I just want to tell you now the names of the 4 groups and the leaders of the different groups, and then they're going to each explain their groups to you. So the 4 groups, the first one is called Love and Justice Circles and Network of Spiritual Progressive Chapters. And the leaders of that group are Elgar, Susan, and Brian. I believe I captured all the leaders. Can someone write the names of the groups in the chat for me, one of the leadership team members? Because I'm trying not to do chatting and talking at the same time tonight. So the first one again is the Love and Justice Circle, or the Network of Spiritual Progressives. And the leaders are gonna talk to you about how this group is gonna operate as a Love and Justice Circle in a chapter, and then how you can be encouraged and invited then to start a local one for you in your community with people that you know. And you don't have to start with like 30 people. You can start with 5 people, 3 people. You can start small and grow. We want to make this manageable and doable so that you feel comfortable and held in doing this. So that is the first one. In a couple minutes, you'll hear them speak about it. Second one is called the Revolutionary Love Book Group, and that's going to be headed by Robert and Fred, who have a lot of experience in book groups. Robert's already held a large Revolutionary Love book group with, I think it ended up being like 25 or 30 people on Zoom, which was just amazing to me because we had talked about keeping it to 12 people, and then all these people want to participate. And Robert created with some of my help this amazing chapter guide for each chapter, so that not only will you be reading the book, but then you'll also be encouraged to take action based on the suggestions in the book. So it's not a passive reading of the book. It's a live, engaged reading of the book where you then take the ideas out into the world. And Fred has a wonderful pamphlet or brochure, I can't remember, about how to host and guide book groups in this way. So they will both be leading the book group, you'll be reading it together, and again, you'll be encouraged to then start a book group. So then you'll be leading a book group, but you'll have support in doing that from the national holders of that group. The next group is the Organizing Outreach Effort, and in this group, which is headed up by Vanessa, Marion, Robert, and Kevin, this group is actually taking the unifying principles of the Network of Spiritual Progressives, which are on the website, the spiritualprogressives.org, unifying principles is on there. And those unifying principles are 4 or 5, I don't remember off the top of my head right now, one of which is the new bottom line, but it's also values around engaging in nonviolence, values around recognizing and honoring the diversity of faith, belief, and reason. It's also understanding and honoring the diversity of humanity and seeing the humanity of all beings, even those we tend to other. There goes my cat again, trying to close my computer. And the idea is to bring those unifying principles to organizations, to whether they're social change organizations, environmental organizations, faith and spiritual organizations and communities, to bring those principles to those organizations so that they will hopefully endorse and embrace them and be able to assess how well they're doing in these areas in their organization. And the intention or the goal of this is so that all of the organizations who are working to create a loving and just world, right? Because we know that all the organizations who are trying to change the society that we're living in right now and make it work better are doing it actually because they care. They actually want a different world. They want a world based on love and justice. That's why they're doing the work, but they often don't say that. Instead, they talk about what they're against or a particular identity that they're working for, or a particular outcome that they're working for, but they don't put forth the larger visions and values of the dream that they have, of the world that they yearn for and want. And if we all did that, not only would we see the interconnectedness of our work instead of operating in our separate silos, but we would also put forth a vision of a world that those who are not yet with us, those who are not yet identifying as being with the left, actually would then embrace it. It's a very unifying, visionary strategy that can build the mass movement that we actually need to create the radical changes that we need to save the life support system of this planet, to be able to do the type of reparations and repairs we need to do around the genocide of Native Americans in this country and the racism that's still, both of which are still just so prevalent and alive in our world today. So that's the organizing outreach effort group. And the last group is the prophetic empathy practice group, and Susan and I will be heading that group. And this group is an opportunity to practice what I teach as prophetic empathy. And if you haven't taken the training, I hope you will, spiritualprogressives.org/training. If someone could put that in the chat, please. But it's a unique way of doing empathy that Susan and I will talk about shortly. And that both meets people where they're at, but also inspires and challenges them to be the true essence of who they really are and who they really want to be. So those are the 4 groups, and I'm going to turn it over now. So each group is going to have 7 minutes. I'm just going to give you a timeline now. So about 28 minutes. I'm guessing will be about 30 minutes with some changes of stuff. And then we're going to do these breakout groups so you can go to the different groups and move amongst them even. You don't have to stay in one group. So, and to those of you who have to leave, this is being recorded still, yes, fortunately. So we will be able to send out a recording to you, and thanks for those of you who can stay on. So, so the Love and Justice, Elegar, Susan, and Brian, I'm gonna hand this over to you now for 7 minutes, and I'm gonna try to keep you close to 7 minutes just so we honor everyone's time tonight.
Great. Elgar, did you want to start or shall I?
Yeah, I could start us off.
Great.
Yeah, welcome all. Yeah, I'm Elegar, one of the leaders of the Love and Justice Circle group, along with Susan and Brian. I'll pass it on to them. Yeah, thanks again for that powerful and beautiful opening, Rabbi Lerner and Kat Zavis. Yeah, so I just wanted to share a powerful quote from my late father. Kind of thought of it as Rabbi Lerner was speaking. He said that any civilization that does not challenge the impossible is doomed to fail. And I really think a world of love and justice and a new bottom line is indeed possible. And I really think it's almost existential. You know, our very future as a human species and of the very future of our planet really depends on it. And that's really what we're trying to do in the Love and Justice Circle. We're trying to reimagine a world of love and justice and a new bottom line, a world based on generosity and empathy and compassion and love one for the other, and abundance, to replace the world of, you know, self-interest and scarcity and competition and rivalry. So we really want to practice this in our Love and Justice group. So our intention is to really have a practice group where we can reimagine the world in this context through this new paradigm. And how can we visualize that and imagine it and manifest it? That's something that we're going to be working on in our national call. So we'll actually be a practice group, and then we'll also spend some time thinking about how do we manifest this? How do we apply this to specific areas, whether it's addressing systems of oppression, our educational system, the environmental crisis, etc. How would we reimagine our world through that context? And then also work on how you can then take that and bring that back to your own work in your own area, whether that's working locally with different organizations and groups. How can you bring this love and justice paradigm, or within your own work, your own social justice work that you're engaged in? So with that, that's kind of the overview. I'll pass it on to Susan.
Great, thanks, Elgar. Yeah, I'm really excited. I think we're seeing in the last month or two, we're all, at least I am, learning more and more of what would a world without prisons and police look like, which would of course be a world of love and justice, right? Where we really care about people. And it's taken a while. I've seen from my mind, like, wait, how do we deconstruct this? What would it look like? It's not just what we don't want. So there's a lot of work to do at that thinking through, at that cleaning the window that we look through things through, of what could an actual healthy, loving world look like. So I see this group as one place where we do that work of really trying to understand it and get real about it, and what the steps would be. And then we're a group together, a Sangha, a working group, to roll up our sleeves and not just talk about it, but do something. I am so ready to do something. And when I look and see that there's 80 people or so on this call, I think, yes, together we can make a lot happen. We can really generate change, and we'll support each other. We'll practice with each other. And you're probably starting to see our groups have some overlap, which is why we'll also come together at various times. But our love and justice practice group is the place to really do part of it's the analysis and the thinking, like, how would it really work? What would a banking system look like based on love and compassion, but still be a bank, right? And then, okay, now we've got these ideas. What's the first steps? How do we start making this happen? How do we support each other? And so maybe there'll be enough of us to start groups according to a sector or locally, and we'll sort of see who shows up, how we want to organize. Do we want to study a theme for the first couple of months, like banking or the justice system? Or do we want to think about how do you work at a city level or a county level? So we'll work together to figure out the best approach. So I'm really excited. Brian.
Good. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Elgar. I'll just add a couple of things. I've been involved in a local group for the last 15 years. And we're a small group. It is like a love and justice circle in the sense that we openly listen to each other. We facilitate by way of dialogue, and we bring up questions that are close to our hearts. We all care about the environment. We all care about social justice. But the essential thing is building connection with one another. One of the things that in talking to Susan and Elgar, that's been really fascinating to listen to our own process. And we hit upon something that there's kind of fundamentally a paradigm shift that needs to happen in the world. But when you ask somebody, how does that thing work, this what we call paradigm shift, how does it actually work? There are great books, Structure of Scientific Revolution, Elgar's referenced, that talks about that. But we want to really get into the dynamics of how do people change? How does society change? There's been mention about how to take some of these problematic areas and deconstruct them and look at them from the point of view of a world of love and justice rather than a world of disconnection. So I see this as an opportunity for a lot of voices to be heard, for us to think together and really examine how do we take these really large questions and problems facing us, deconstruct them and reframe them within the context of love and justice. So I'm excited to join the rest of you and work with my colleagues on this project as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. So now I'm going to pass it to Fred and Robert to talk about the Revolutionary Love Book, which is a different format of a book group. So I'll pass it to you. And Susan, if you're able to highlight, if you're able to track while they're talking, to pin them, spotlight them.
Oh, sure, I can do that.
You
Yes.
want to pin me, huh?
And if everyone else.
So Robert, okay, are you ready? Okay. Uh, Hello, I'm Fred Clare. I'm from St. Petersburg. And I and Robert have taken on the Revolutionary Love book group study. If you don't know what that is, it's Rabbi Lerner's book that he has recently published. And I think when we talk about it, I think you would be on this call because I think everybody is seeking a different way. And a new bottom line speaks to you at some level. And we have all these different groups going. What I see this book study group able to do is it's a great launching point for people, especially for inviting family and friends who might be a little reluctant to get into an organization or something, but a book study is a little less threatening to people. So I think it's a great way for us to not only gain awareness, because as you listen to Rabbi Lerner, you get all these concepts. The book goes into great details about how the system we are living in, how it has come to be, how people are responding to that, and the problems it's caused. And that's all great. We can always find that, but the network is spiritual progressive takes it one step further, and we talk about how can we begin to change the consciousness, create a new worldview, bring forth this new bottom line. So the book study, as Kat said, Robert has already done one, and you'll hear from him in just a minute. And he's put together discussion questions for each chapter in the book. And so we will be doing both the actual book study online, but we will also be encouraging people to facilitate their own book study group, because what the NSP is seeking to do is to bring people into the awareness of who we are and what is our unique message that we have to share with each other. And so we have all these other groups going. And as I said, I believe the book study group is an excellent way to, if you don't feel comfortable with the concepts, it gives you an opportunity to come together with people. We're going to support each other as we study the book, but we're also going to encourage each other, not just to study it, but to put it into action in our daily life. And so we will be, I don't like to use accountability, but we will be supporting each other to take action, because it's not enough just to have the knowledge. We have to take the knowledge and put it into action. So I'm going to let Robert speak now. So go ahead, Robert.
Thanks, Brian. I had the opportunity of organizing a Revolutionary Love book study. And it started with an interview with Rabbi Michael Lerner. I went to his lecture when he came to Phoenix and sat down with him for 15 minutes. And I asked him, what do you want me to do as a greater Phoenix network spiritual progressive organizer? And he said, study my book. And he was right. It was, like Brian says, it's a good way for people who are new to get involved. And that's the way it has worked out. I sent out an invitation to every synagogue and church and Islamic temple that I had a contact with. And I opened the door to see who would come, and they came streaming in. We set a limit of 12 people initially with Kat's recommendation. And with the help of the Arizona Faith Network, who put the book study in their newsletter, we had 25 people enroll in the class. and we only lost a couple people because we gained a few more. So as a result, the facilitator has really rose to the occasion and has written notes of his own, which emphasize taking action. And he's the senior minister of a prominent church that has a reputation for activism. So if he gets behind it and his congregation gets behind it, I'm sure they will continue to take action based on the book. Thank you.
Great.
So if you want to be part of that group, our first call will be next Monday at 4:30 Pacific time, 7:30 Eastern time.
And I just put the link, I'm putting the links to each group to register in the chat. So each of you can find the link to the different groups as people are talking. I'm trying to pull them for you and put them in the chat. But it's also on the page, the website page. The links are also embedded into the website page, but I'll also put them in here for ease for folks. Thank you, Fred and Robert. Awesome. Okay, the organizing group, which is Vanessa, Marion, Robert, and Kevin. So I don't know who's speaking first, but I'm handing it over to you guys.
So Kevin's going first. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the call. Thanks, Rabbi Lerner. That was great stuff. So much in such a short time, and we spend a lot of time in book studies are great, and so in the organizer group, we're going to take some of that theoretical knowledge and put it into a real practical use. We're going to help you and support you in outreach, where you can take this and bring it to other groups. We've been Fred and myself had helped with a group in the Tampa Bay area in Florida. And we were able, with a small group of people, to create a larger footprint to actually, influence groups and to co-create with groups. Just by being out there, by creating actions, showing up at events, experiences. To grow this thing, and again, like everything else, I mean, so you don't want to get discouraged. It's 10% of the people do 90% of the work. So that's okay. I mean, and if you're on this call, you're probably somewhat of a worker, and you want to do this. So we're going to help, and we're going to support each other in how to unify and how to bring the message of a new bottom line. Where the drive for economic profit is replaced by drives for social and economic and environmental justice. It's actually with progressive groups on the left, it's low-hanging fruit. It's how you do it. It's getting out there and knocking on the doors and going to the meetings and joining the groups. Lots of groups are interested in coalitions because it makes them bigger. And we can bring the NSP there. We get in front of them. We're able to talk about the new bottom line. Rabbi Lerner alluded to that all the people that are on the left that are trying to do this, there's way more people, I think, that are on the left, but we're stuck in our silos. And you see that you just see all these groups that are stuck in the silos. And I've been organizing for a long time, and I understand this. So we're going to help, and we're going to support each other to not only implement and develop strategies where we can break down these silos, where we can bring the message of the NSP and new bottom line to different groups at a local, state, and national level. And we'll be able to support each other, while we're doing this. It's scary when you think you have to go out and do it all alone. But these practical organizational steps can be done with support. And I think that's fantastic and amazing. Thanks.
Okay.
Who's next?
I'm next, I think. I'd like to give you an overview of what those 5 unifying principles actually are. And we are inviting other social change organizations to sign on to them in order to unite our efforts so we can truly transform our world by being united. And you can find the details of those on the NSP website under philosophy. Number 1 states that we affirm the humanity and dignity of self and others, even if they are different and disagree with us, and we commit to reaching out to them. We will not demean, ridicule, or attack those we disagree with, but at the same time challenge every manifestation of othering and isms, like racism, sexism, classism, as well as hate speech and unfair policies. Number 2 states that we seek a world based on a new bottom line, where the success of every sector, system, and institution is judged not by whether they maximize money, profit, and power, but instead if they maximize love and caring, kindness and generosity, empathy and compassion, as well as social, economic, and environmental justice, peace, nonviolence, and protection of our planet. The 3rd principle states that we commit to being in a sacred relationship with the earth and ensure its well-being and longevity, just as we commit to do so with all other life forms and nature. We believe that the earth is a living organism and that we are dependent upon its well-being for our well-being. Number 4 states that we commit to respect and honor our diversity of faith, belief, and reason. That includes all faith and spiritual traditions, as well as all secularists, atheists, and others. Number 5 finally states that we commit to nonviolence, since the only way to create a loving and just world is through loving and just acts. All our actions will be nonviolent, including marches, sit-ins, demonstrations, and acts of civil disobedience. These are the 5 unifying principles for social change organizations that the NSP is proposing. And now Vanessa is going to tell us more about how she's already using those in her work with the Unity Church she's at. Vanessa?
Yes, thank you, Marian.
Sure.
I'm going to give you all an example of outreach in action. I'm going videoless just to save my bandwidth, so I apologize, but I'm still here. So I'm beginning my outreach at my local Unity Church. I'm introducing a love and justice circle at my church to challenge racism. I was specifically asked by my reverend, who understood my work as a spiritual progressive and who adores Rabbi Lerner's work. The Reverend Cheryl asked me to help the congregation find ways to help end racism, used to separate us from each other by the powers that be. So to lay the foundation for our activism, my church's Love and Justice Circle will begin with the book, My Grandmother's Hands by Resmaa Menakem, which I highly recommend. This anti-racist work supports all of the unifying principles and the mission of the NSP to create a caring and compassionate world that values the sacredness of every living being. Anti-racist work is actually one of the 10 points in the path to creating a world of love and justice, which is central to the NSP's work. And you can find this 10-point plank on the website. I will ask my congregation to walk the talk by signing on to our unifying principles as we take to the streets, because we are already modeling them in the anti-racism work we're doing and in the values we hold dear as Unitarians. So my intention is to expand my work to include Unity churches on a national level in modeling this type of activism to get them on board. So come and join us. It'll be a wonderful collaborative experience and very transformative, and it's easier than you think. Thank you.
Thanks, Vanessa. The reason I was invited to join this group was that when I sat down with Rabbi Lerner, the second comment he made was to go to the United Church of Christ denomination and get them to support the new bottom line. And so that's what I did. I sent a letter to the general minister and the associate general minister of the denomination to not only invite Rabbi Lerner to be the speaker at the next General Assembly, but also to incorporate a resolution that I will write to support the new bottom line as a denomination. And I think the time is right because I sat down with the associate minister over Zoom already, and she's African American, is interested in justice ministries, and so I've been sending her things that Rabbi Lerner wrote on racism. So I think we'll have a good time working this out. And the United Church of Christ is one of those liberal groups that Rabbi Lerner was talking about. So it's going to be a test to see whether they can move beyond their statements to action. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. So Robert was, I'm just going to sum it up just because it was a little choppy, but Robert's already bringing this into his church in Phoenix and also to the national organization. So both and, which is really exciting and inspiring. So you'll learn more about that process there. Thank you, Robert.
Say, Kat, I'm also part of that.
Sorry, Fred, you're right.
Yeah. And what I wanted to add is I've just retired as a Unity minister this last month. But before I retired, as Kevin said, that we started NSP chapter down here in Florida, in the Tampa, St. Petersburg area. And I took it to my congregation, and who supported the new bottom line, who supported our work as the network of spiritual progressives. And our message that we took into the congregation was the message of the new bottom line, and to bring it into action. So as I have retired from that, I also plan, like Robert, is to, since I am an ordained Unity minister, to continue working with the national organization and getting them to sign on to the unifying principles and stuff like that. So that's what this group is going to be about, is about getting other groups to align with us, or we align with other groups.
Awesome. Thank you, Fred. I want to remind folks that we're just going to now, Susan and I are going to talk very briefly about the prophetic empathy group, and then you're going to have a chance to go into these groups to ask questions of folks who are leading these groups to get a better sense of that. And then we'll come back to answer any final questions, and then we're going to close. So a little bit more time. So Susan, if you want to start. And I love seeing all these messages from people saying, I'm so excited, thanks, I'm going to join the group. So that's really inspiring. Susan, you're on.
Great. So the prophetic empathy group will be a real practice session to actually speak and how, okay, if we got all these great ideas and I now want to go to my church and talk to them, or I'm going to go to my city council, how do we actually speak the words? Or I get involved in a conversation in a meeting with somebody who has different perspectives. How could I call them to their highest self? How could I enter into these conversations? Or when I get all excited about it and my friends say, oh, that's not realistic, how do I respond? So the prophetic empathy group will be a real time to practice. And we certainly will encourage some people to attend all the time, but it also can be a drop-in group. So anyone from one of the other groups, maybe you realize, oh, we are really ready now to go to the national organization of this environmental group. I want to get how I talk down in a really good way. So you could come and we can help do some coaching. So I come from a background of compassionate listening, where we're really good at receiving and noticing and listening for the person's deepest values. With prophetic empathy, we then take that to call them to their highest self. So it's not advising or judging in any way, but hopefully inspiring and calling people to that higher self. And we will be guided. I will support, but be guided by the brilliant Kat Zavis, who, if you haven't seen her in action, is amazing. So I will turn that over to you, Kat.
Thank you, Susan. So this is my play. The prophetic empathy group for me is like my play space, because you come to the group with your challenges and where you've perhaps bumped into yourself or others in your conversations or in trying to bring these ideas into the world, and you're stuck and you don't exactly know what to say or how to say it. And what we do in the group is we do role plays. You just come with it and we just jump into the role play. And sometimes I will play you so you can see how we might play that out. Sometimes I'll play the other person. Sometimes two people will play it, and Susan and I'll coach. So it's a real opportunity for you to dive deeply into not just what we think of as traditional empathy, which is trying to understand each other's needs and be compassionate toward the other. But like Susan said, really, how do we lift people up so that they can understand that the world that we're speaking about, that we want, that they can tap back into that memory of the fact that they not only want it, but that it's okay to dream. That dreaming is a brilliant gift that we all are given as children and that we lose touch with, and we get to get back into that dream and inspire others to go for their highest values of the world that they want. So that's what we'll be doing. And like Susan said, you can drop in and out, but it's a really great opportunity to practice these skills in real ways, because it also, I think, has given people confidence to go ahead and have these conversations that they feel really scared about having. So it's also a confidence building. So now, and Kevin pointed out in the chat, Kay says, how to choose. Wow. Kay, you don't have to choose. You can participate in all of them. They each will meet once a month. They won't overlap. So you're welcome to participate in any or all of the groups. The more the merrier, for sure. So now we're going to try something really radically crazy. And Susan's going like this with her hands. And so we're hoping we pull this off correctly. So what we've done is we've made each of you co-host. And Zoom's like, you can't make everyone co-host, but then they realized we could. And what that means, if you click on the bottom of your screen in a minute, if you click on more, Susan, click on more and tell me if you see breakout rooms yet.
No, we will not see the breakout rooms.
I'm going to open the breakout rooms in a minute, and then you'll see the breakout rooms, and everyone's going to be sent. You're going to be sent to the room of the waiting room. And then once you're in the waiting room, when you click on breakout rooms, and it might be under the 3 dots more on the bottom, you will see the different groups labeled: Love and Justice, Prophetic Empathy, Revolutionary Book Group, Revolutionary Love Book Group, and Organizing Outreach. And you can go to any of those rooms, and you can jump back and forth however you want between those rooms. If it's overwhelming, like I can't do that, just stay in the waiting room and I will join you there in a little bit. And I will jump back and forth between this space and the waiting room. Karen, are you on your computer? Karen, I'll help you once we send everyone to the waiting room. So I'm going to open.
Oh, right, because the 2 people who are on the phone, I'm not sure how it's going to work.
People on the phone, I might have to send you to the rooms you want, so you'll have to unmute. And don't forget when you get to the room to unmute yourself. And if you're on the phone, that's *6. So we're gonna all cross our fingers. And we tried this and it worked, but you should be able to see breakout rooms in a minute. It's gonna send you to the breakout room. So just go to the breakout room when I send it, and then you'll see.
Great.
Wait, they're all in different rooms though, Susan.
No, everybody's in the waiting room.
Oh, shoot. You know what happened?
No.
You made me host. And when you made me host, it dropped the rooms.
Oh, okay. Well, that's easy enough. Just, you want to make me host again and I'll fix it?
Yep. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Talk and say something brilliant. Just
Yeah.
make me host again.
Let me just make you host again. Host, sorry. So now you live and learn. Okay.
All right.
You'll see it in a minute. So what's going to happen is Susan's doing this. When you get into the breakout room, what's going to happen is a pop-up on your screen. It'll say, go to breakout room. You'll click on it. You'll go to what is called the waiting room. Everyone has to go to the waiting room to be able to then move around the rooms. Once you're in the waiting room, what you'll see is a list of names in the waiting room, and you'll find your name. And over your name, then you'll be able to click on which breakout room you want to go to. That's what we determined, right? When we did it?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's how you're going to do this. We're not going to be doing this in every call. We're doing this so that you can have an opportunity to ask questions of people in the particular groups and just give you a feel for meeting those folks. And then we'll do this for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then we'll come back and have a closing. And if anyone has any other questions. So if someone's unmuted. So I'm going to just mute folks if I can who are unmuted. But so I'm hoping this is clear for everyone. I know it seems crazy, but it's really cool. I've done it. And then you get to go to the room you want to go to and play and talk with folks. And Karen, I think once you get to the room, you'll see how to move about. If not, stay in the waiting room and I will come and join you there. And I can also move you from there.
Okay, I'm ready to open the room. You'll be in the waiting room.
Don't make me host yet. You might just have to stay host.
No, I'm going to stay host.
Yeah, so then I'll go to the prophetic empathy room.
Okay, good. All right. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so now we're all here. Oh, yeah, I'm unmuted. Okay, so now we're all on here. So now, let's see. Click on participants. Where are the, let me see. No.
The breakout rooms are on the bottom for most of us, and then under all the names are the actual breakout rooms to join.
Where do you see that?
On my window on the bottom is this little 4 window sign that says breakout rooms on the bottom line.
Yeah.
And you click on that, you get all the names, and on the bottom of that list are the breakout rooms.
Are others seeing that? Because I'm not seeing that.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
I'm not seeing that.
yeah.
Okay, so for those of you who are seeing that, for those of you who are seeing that, go to the breakout room you want to go to. And for those of you who are not, we'll stay here and chat.
How do I find a breakout room?
Well, so some of us are seeing that on the bottom of the screen. For some reason, I am not, and I don't know why. Because we're
Breakout room.
It's on the bottom of the.
All right, so
It might be because some of us are using Zoom on our phones.
yeah, on the phone, it's going to be harder. I might have to move you on the phone. So it says it's beside the record button to the right. Breakout rooms names list, scroll down, and then you'll see the room to join. Yeah, what's funny is I saw this on my computer before, but I'm not seeing it. And that may be because I was a host for a little bit.
well, let's take the people that are on laptops. Everybody on laptops, do you see, when you go down to the bottom of the screen, do you see chat, participants, record? Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so next to record on the right, it says breakout rooms.
Right.
Go ahead and click that.
Thank you, Linda.
And then once you click it, there'll be a scroll bar on the right side, and just scroll all the way down and find the breakout room that you want.
Waiting room. Oh. NSP launch.
Some people are seeing it because there's only 28 people left here, so that's cool.
Is anybody with a laptop not seeing it?
I don't see it, Linda, but that may be because I was
Are you moving your mouse down there, your pointer? Because your pointer needs to activate that bottom part.
Let's try and disconnect audio.
Okay, most everybody. Okay, so whoever's left, are you guys on phones? What are you on?
Yeah, I'm on my Zoom app on my phone.
And I'm on my phone also too.
On my iPad, it works different. Works differently too. My iPad.
Yeah, iPad, you can't do it on your iPad.
Yeah, I don't know about the phone either.
No, you can't. We have to do it for you, but unfortunately, Susan, let me try to go back to Susan because she can come into this room and do it. So I'll be back in a minute. She's not here.
If I go between the chat window and the main video window.
So here's my suggestion for those of us who are here. If you have a question, unmute yourself and ask your question, and I can answer it, and we'll hang out and have a happy, joyous time together in this room.
I don't have any questions, but I'd like to be happy.
We can always sing. Thank you for joining the call and for being happy.
What I'm thinking about doing is, well, I sent a message to my pastor's wife, who is coincidentally also the librarian here at William Woods, and I asked her if the church member who has been hosting book groups, if he has done Revolutionary Love, and if that would be of interest to them to do. And then also I'm thinking that I could start a love and justice circle with some of the other women from church that I've met with once a month in the last few months. And I would also then try prophetic empathy just to stay up on it.
Fabulous. Great.
So for what it's worth, my waiting room just popped up on my phone, so I'm going to go there.
Okay.
It's on the top.
And then
not on the bottom.
So would anybody else like to share or have a question?
Yeah, Kat,
and then a
Yes,
little
Jeff.
bit of
I'm going to go, I actually can see the breakout rooms and I'm going to go check out a couple of them, but just
Great.
while I have you, I just wanted you to know, in case you didn't see it, I did respond to your email.
I
yesterday.
did see it. I've just been swamped. I'll get
No,
back.
I figured. All right, we'll talk about it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, Alex.
For anybody who knows,
Whoops.
if people can you hear me?
Yep, now we can.
Okay, for anybody who knows about love and justice circles, whether it's Kat and or anybody else, if you can sort of clarify in layman's terms, what those are, any relevant information about them.
Sure. I'm actually going to do something for you too, which is I'm going to put in the chat here a little bit of information about it. So give me 1 second, and I'm going to pull that up for you.
Okay.
Ben, I figure from one of those groups, whether I started or not.
Paige, do you mind hanging out 1 second? I just want to answer Alex's question, okay? So Alex, I just put in the chat a description of the Love and Justice Project, which has the groups and a link to how to start a group. And so the national group is going to basically hold a Love and Justice group in which they will talk about and envision what is the world that we want, grounded in the principles of a path to a world of love and justice, which I'm also going to put in there. There we go. I'm just going to see if I can mute folks who aren't muted. If you're not muted, if you could just mute for a moment while I'm just speaking, and then you can unmute to ask a question for sure. I just want to finish answering this question. So Alex, I also just put in there the philosophy, the path to a world of love and justice. And so, so what we're going to do in that group is we're going to take those principles, and under each one of those, it's 10 different things, 10 different fields. You're going to look at them and think about, how would I bring this into my community to actually manifest what a world in love and justice would look like in my community, perhaps in the area of homelessness, perhaps in the area of Black Lives Matter, perhaps in these various different areas, in the environment, in our schools, in our healthcare system. And who are the groups I need to work with to make that happen? How do I reach out to them? How do we actually talk about these? So you're going to be doing like a mapping in your community for these different groups. And in the training that I do, we actually do this as an exercise. And it's really powerful once you understand and kind of have the experience of it. So you'll get an opportunity to practice it and do that in the group. Does that help explain it a bit, Alex?
Yeah, I think so. And I did those links, and I didn't copy them in a Word document, so I hope I can get back to them later. But thanks.
Yeah, when I send out the recording, I'll include the links.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Was there another question from anyone?
I'm thinking then from, say, the Love and Justice Circle, I could fit in a little bit of the activism and outreach on whatever scale works for me.
Great, Paige. That's fabulous.
Thank you. That's a good point.
Oh yes, David pointed out you can save the chat, David, by clicking on the three dots. by clicking on the 3 dots to the right in the bottom of the chat, and then it'll save all the URLs and all the links. Thank you for reminding me about that. I've recorded it, so I'll automatically get it. Okay, any other folks have any questions? Hi, Bruce. You. Oh, Bud, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm connected. I'd like to start a chapter here, and I was more interested in the organizing and outreach, and so if you can help connect me with them.
So if you, can you mute, because I think you're causing the, so just unmute again if you have another question, please. So I can't move you for some reason, and I'm sorry about that. But if you sign up to register for that group, and the link is in the chat, or if you go to the page, the website page, which I'll also post again, but if you save the chat, you'll be able to find the links. Then you'll register, and then you'll be able to join that group. Does that work for you, Bud? Yes. And also, I just want to say to everyone, if like any of this doesn't work and you are still lost and you have a question, you can always email me. It's like, it's fine. I might, right now we're moving offices, so I might not get back to you right away, but my email's kat@spiritualprogressives.org. So if you are like, I really want to join this group, but I've lost that link, just email me. It's fine. We'll get it to you, I promise. I'm just writing something in the chat back to David. Okay, David, I just responded. If you email me, and I'll put my email in here. Enjoy your kids. Thanks for joining us. If you email me, David, then I can send it to you. And also, if you join the group, they'll be sharing it. Other questions from folks? So, but I'm going to assume that I answered your question. You're a little bit in the dark. I mean, literally, physically, I can't see you that well. I don't mean you're in the dark. But I'm going to trust if you have a question. So, Bruce, did you have a question? We can't hear you, which is weird because it doesn't show that you're muted. Oh, Jason is Laura. Well, that's even more exciting.
Hey, Jason is here too.
Hi, Jason. That's so exciting. It's just only more exciting because I know who Laura is, not because inherently Laura's more exciting than Jason, but because then I knew who she was. Hi, Laura. Nice to see you.
Hey, so good to see you too.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having this. I just texted you to put me on the mailing list because I usually get things through him.
Okay, great. I will add you. So, Lilia, is that did I pronounce that correctly? You said you'd like to join the book group and prophetic empathy group. So you can use a tablet for those. If you save the chat, you will get the link, but I'm going to put the link in here again to the article that has all of the links. So they're all hyperlinked, meaning they're embedded. If you click here, you'll see. So for example, under the Love and Justice group, it says sign up here to join us. It says that under each group, and you just click there, and then you'll get the information for how to join each call. So the reason we did it that way is because it's on the internet and we don't want to be Zoom bound, because I've had that awful experience before. So you just register for the call, and then you'll get the link to actually join the call. I hope that's clear. If it's not, again, you can email me at kat@spiritualprogressives.org. That's fine. Other questions? Hi, John. Nice to see you.
Hey, Pat. Hey, good to see you. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yes.
And Bruce, we can't hear you, sadly.
Huh.
Hiding.
Kat, when is your first meeting going to be?
Which one, John?
Of the prophetic, of your group, the prophetic.
Prophetic empathy?
Empathy, yeah.
Let me tell you right now, because if you think it's in my brain, The first one is Monday, July 27th at
Okay.
4:30 Pacific time, 7:30 East Coast time. And so
Hmm.
if you go to that page that I sent up there, the tikkun.org NSP Tikkun Launch National Working Groups link,
Mhm.
if you go to that page and you scroll down to the prophetic empathy group, I'm getting tongue tied, you can sign up there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
great.
So what brought this about, Kat? I mean, what was there anything in particular that catalyzed this?
To catalyze this massive thing.
Yeah.
I have been, wanting to figure out how to uplift and strengthen the movement for a long time, as you know. And in the last training, not the one I just finished, but the one before that, I was also in a program in a class, and I did a lot of brainstorming around what was next. And this is what came to me, was to have this leadership team. And then I've been working with this leadership team for quite a couple months now, right, Robert? And they've been really dynamic and amazing. And then we came up with this strategy, and it's just been so organic and exquisite, because there's this team of people working together. And I think we also all feel really deeply in our hearts that given everything that's happening in the world, this is a profound opportunity and moment for really bringing our vision into the world. So.
Wow. Well, I wish I could talk as good as you and Michael can. That's my goal in life, is to be able to communicate this message as good as you and Michael can. I feel very hopeful about this new beginning.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to send my sister the page with the information about the group. She's been interested in social justice and progressivism herself.
Wonderful.
And she's in the Chicago area.
Oh, great. Excellent. Yeah, my hope is that we can start, getting groups going. Lilia, let me see if I can unmute you. No. So are you on your phone? I can't remember. You're on your tablet. You should be able to unmute. There you go. Now we can hear you. We can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay, it said host had muted me.
Yeah, but you can unmute. So there you go.
Yeah, and I unmuted.
Great. So did you have a question? Did you see my response to you in the chat about how to sign up for the different groups?
Yes.
Great.
I'm really lagging behind on this technology.
This whole virus thing is gonna push us all into a new level of technological facility or frustration, sometimes both end.
So I actually have the tablet in front of me. You're on my tablet, but I also have my smartphone, and I'm using that to do the email and the websites. So I'm using both.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
And I have a laptop that I haven't plugged in yet at all.
The laptop is I find definitely to be the easiest way to maneuver on Zoom, but they all work.
Okay.
Zoom kind of, I've been using Zoom for since 2015 or 2016.
Wow.
So I was ahead of the game. But the good news is now most people have more ease with using it, so I don't have to spend a lot of time teaching it when I start my trainings. I also will be, I will be starting a new training once I figure out my class schedule for next month, beginning next month. So once I figure that out, then I will also be leading a new prophetic empathy training and revolutionary love training. For those of you who haven't taken the 6-week training, it's a really good opportunity to sink in deeply to all the teachings, and you can still participate in the groups that you're in while you're in the training, and you'll feel like you're ahead of the game because you're in the group and you're in the training. But it's we learn all of these different things and do a lot of practice in prophetic empathy and in understanding the principles and ideas of revolutionary love. So all of you are also invited to that, and you'll all receive an invitation once I have the clear dates. I'll make sure you get an invitation to that.
Okay.
Great, Laura and Jason. Thank you for joining us. Kisses to your daughter. Lila Tov. Good to see you. Any other questions?
Where is Cornell West at right now with NSP? He was one of the co-founders of NSP,
Yeah,
and he has a national visibility. And
yeah. He's doing his things now.
yeah, but
he's still aligned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But
okay.
Yeah. Any other questions from folks? I want to check. I want to see what time. Okay, so Susan's probably going to close these rooms in a few minutes. Bruce, can we hear you? I would just love to hear your voice. I can't hear you, Bruce, but you're not muted. That's so confusing. I hope you're staying healthy. Thanks for all you're doing. Much love. It's fun to see people that I know. Alex, I love your beautiful Ubuntu.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
When I got introduced to that idea, that's stayed with me ever since being introduced.
Yeah.
I think for me, and I think it's true for others, but it's only kosher in my mind to speak the depths of my experience. But I feel like I live two different experiences. One is the social constructs like class, gender, race, etc., that on the one hand are totally made up, but they're totally real because people live and die by them. But the Ubuntu, I feel like that's the natural, way, so.
Amen. Amen.
Thanks.
I agree with you. So I was moving our offices today, and I had to go to the city office to pick up parking permits, which I had picked up on Friday, and they got ripped down. So I had to go pick them up again on Monday to put them back up. And right across this, kind of where the city office is a part of downtown Berkeley that has a park right across the street and a large homeless section of a large homeless population lives there and on the streets and I was looking directly into everybody's face, and I was overcome with the seeing the divinity in each of them. Like it wasn't something I was trying to do. I wasn't like thinking to myself, oh, make yourself. It was just like there was something that it was almost as if the divine in the universe overcame me. And as I looked into each of their faces and saw them from the back and the front and all the different, like, I was overcome with seeing the divinity of each of their faces, and I started crying. I actually started sobbing, is the truth. And because I was overcome with the grief of the fact that we've created a world and we still participate in a world in which the divine lives amongst us and is treated so non-divinely. I don't know so poorly, so inhumanely, but even more than inhumanely, like really not treated as the divine. And so I just share that because I believe that's why I'm doing this work. Because the divine is in all of us and lives within all of us and in all of the energy of the universe. It permeates, it vibrates with that loving divine energy. And so, yeah, I was overcome. I was just overcome with it. So I am grateful to see all these faces here tonight, to know that other people also want to build a world where we uplift and embrace the divine in all of its manifestations and beauties.
Well, I had a profound moment. I think maybe might be family to yours. I'm a survivor of the Greensboro massacre, which I'm thinking about as a massacre. But one of the things that we consulted with South Africa and other truth commissioners, and Reverend Bengani Finka, who was one of the Truth and Reconciliation commissioners, one of the things he said, he went to either the cemetery, I think the cemetery, but maybe where the massacre happened, and then he said he was moved. And I don't compare experiences, our journeys are what they are. But I thought, to me, I mean, my God, November 3rd, 5, I mean, comparatively, it's not that, I mean, so anyway, so that was a profound kind of, as human to human, as being to being, so when he said that, I was like, wow, it's, so yeah, so that's a reference point that sometimes
Yeah.
I go back to. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Could I share a response, Kat?
Yeah.
So when you shared that story, first of all, it made me realize how powerful stories are. But also, I started reading Emerson this week. I'm going back to Emerson. And in Emerson, you get that feeling of divinity, of spirituality in everything, in every day, in nature, in us. He has an essay called The Oversoul, right? And it's fascinating. And when you were telling that story, I was flashing back to something that happened to me, gosh, about 30 years ago, the first time I ever read Dostoevsky.
Huh.
I had a mystical experience on the sidewalks of Hoboken when I looked around me, and the alienated people on the sidewalk suddenly were like glowing from within. I felt a sense of connection, possible connection, and I felt a deep spiritual feeling that I know came from reading Dostoevsky, right? Who is a spiritual writer too. And I share that because I think often we don't talk enough about literature, about the arts, about someone like Emerson, philosophy. And if you think about it, they're taking all this out of our curriculums in our schools, right? So education is becoming so technocratic. I find that these spiritual experiences really come also through the arts. And when I read great literature and when I have, it helps me to be in tune with these divine feelings.
Beautiful. You're reminding me of that. I read Emerson and Thoreau in high school, and they were like my awakening. I was like, whoa.
So, Kat, can I just interrupt for a second? I
Yeah.
wasn't sure what time we're supposed to end and if I should be closing all the rooms
Yeah.
or sending a message to everybody.
Yeah, I just texted you and also
Message.
messaged you here. Yeah, I think it's time to close the rooms because I'd like to end on time at 6:30.
Okay.
People stayed here because some of us just couldn't figure out how to get elsewhere. So we had a good chat and I answered any questions. So
all right. So I'll just close. They'll just have 1 minute. Now, or should I send a 1 minute warning or just?
I think just 1 minute. I'm guessing everyone had adequate time.
Kat, I had a Course in Miracles glimmer when you shared the what you said about seeing the divine in everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, and the divine could see them through me.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to return to the main section unless there's another question by someone here in the next few seconds. Nice to see you, Mary and Peter. Thanks for being here. So glad. Okay, I'm going to return to the main session and I hope to see you all there.